So stepping into 2022, this was the year that COVID happened, and we had to have less retreats, but we were all working remotely already. So tell me how you like the remote work culture. Where does it start? Maybe I'm curious. Was it something you put into place originally?
Yeah, I mean, we never really had a proper office that everyone turned up to. This was just not a thing, right? So we began as we sort of began as the embers of ETHDev from the Ethereum Foundation subsidiary. ETHDev was split across many different places. I don't think Stefan Tual, who ran the communications portion, I don't think he went to the office very much. They did have a small office in London, which we actually took over. Parity took it over as well. I think it was its literally first office, just for a few months. But I never really worked from an office. A little bit when I was within Berlin, but not so much. And we never really had a policy of working from the office. There are a lot of people that enjoy having an office to go to for the sort of social aspect or whatever, comfort aspect, or not wanting to be at home or whatever. But it was never really, it was something we provided, but never really demanded.
Yeah.
When we found that when people joined the company, it was something that was advantageous if they worked from the office. So we had some employees that didn't really want to work from an office, but for the first 4 months, sort of stayed in Berlin and came to the office every day just to sort of get spun up. There was a period, certainly when we were spinning up, where it maybe was a little bit more advantageous as we were growing fast to have people actually at a central spot. But it was not really, I mean, certainly when the company began, and certainly now, it's not a strong policy that we have.
Yeah. In combination of remote but doing retreats is actually very good. It's has the best of both, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and this was very much how the company began. So the first retreat we did was late 2015 when we began coding the Parity Rust client.
Mm.
And that was me, Arkady, and Marek, just the three of us. And we went off to some random place on the north coast of Germany. And yeah, I mean, it was very, very far. Was it Germany or Poland anyway? On that Baltic coast. And yeah, we just locked ourselves in a house basically for 2 weeks. I remember that the village didn't have a supermarket or a shop.
What did you eat?
Or a car, or anything actually. It had one bus stop that had per day 2 buses. Had one in the morning and one in the late afternoon. So if you wanted to go anywhere, we had to get the bus and just hope that there was a bus back. Yeah, so we did one supermarket shop for the entire time, and otherwise just sort of stayed in and coded all day, and then walked around at night time. Walked around in the afternoon. It was, as I say, it was quite far north, and it was winter time, kind of early December, so the sun was going down at 3:30, 4 o'clock. And it had a nice log fire, I remember that. And we watched some classic British, slightly blokish comedy when we we finished for the day at 9:30 or whatever for an hour or two. Red Dwarf, I remember we specifically watched, and a bit of Father Ted. And yeah, it was good. It was a nice way of spending 12, 13 days.
Mm.
And the channel that we used to made a channel on whatever we were using at the time, Discord or I can't remember. And the channel's called Retreat. And that ended up becoming the channel name for all the technical chat, because the 3 technical people were in this channel. And I think that stayed the case until quite late.
Yeah. It rings a bell for me. There was this channel called Parity Retreat, which had a different purpose when I joined.
Yeah. It stuck around for a long time, but then people were too confused.
Expansion. The death of culture.
Do you remember your first retreat? Which one was that?
Mine was in Tenerife, 2019, in September. Yeah, it was awesome.
18. Because 19 I was there. That was
18,
not
sorry, I
pandemic,
mean,
yeah,
18. I mean, yeah. Right after. I joined in beginning of September, and like it was at the end of September.
Yeah, with the flies, I heard.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of flies.
I don't remember.
In the room where we all ate and also worked in the daytime.
Yeah.
You remember this kind of slightly open air?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of flies.
Okay.
A lot of flies.
I just remember like the first days I was there, like there was this big space we had rented, or this big house or whatever, or multiple houses, and but there was not enough space. So when I arrived, I was sleeping in like this village. I needed to like go upwards like 50 minutes or whatever to this house, and then going back, and yeah. But it was a nice retreat. It was quite small and with many people.
70 people. That's how many we were.
And for you, Aaron? For you, Aaron?
Oh, my first retreat was France. Where
Late 2019.
Late, I think so, yeah. Because I remember when I joined, the retreat had just happened, and I was like, oh, missed out. But then the one in France was quite good.
This was very good. It had very good food.
It had very good food. I remember that. And it was a nice place.
Yeah.
It was like the perfect size for the amount of people we were at the time. We snuck in some nice bottles of whiskey. It was also good.
Yeah, right.
And it had the pinball
arcade
machine.
Yeah.
It was quite good.
I think it was from some company, I probably can't pronounce the name, Chateau Forum something.
Yeah.
Which is the same one that did the Barcelona one.
Yeah. Yes.
There was a joke that after the first Barcelona one, they would, ban us from going back again, but we managed to get in.
We did eventually. It took some years.
But I mean, they already complained about us. I remember in France that someone every evening there was like to dinner there was like a bottle or like multiple bottles of wine, and like someone said, take the bottles of wine with you. So like people started taking the bottles of wine with them, and like 2 evenings later, whatever, someone was sitting somewhere there and like drinking one of these like wine bottles, and like the guy from the hotel was coming. Where do you get this bottle from? I mean, because he, for whatever reason, he knew that the bottle was from this dinner 2 evenings before, and like, so yeah.
It's like being back.
But that I think that might have been the first retreat that there was a BarCamp, or
Yeah,
what was
that was the first.
Oh, yeah.
and that worked out quite well. And I think we tried to replicate it several times since then, but it was never as good.
Yeah. I think that was the only time it worked. But yeah, later didn't work anymore. Sadly. But people don't understand that the aspect of you don't need to prepare anything. That some people don't get this aspect of you don't need to prepare anything. Like they want to prepare always. Like maybe you can put your stuff here before, or like you can start thinking about like it's no. When we got there, like there was a BarCamp, there was just a whiteboard, like put your stuff on it, what you want to hear about, what you maybe want to talk about, and then people put like a point there and say I want to see that, and yeah. I think that's like kind of the beauty that is like just coming out of the moment and not like plan like a conference or whatever.
Yeah, I think with this retreat, just being in the same place and putting these people together is 90% of the work. Mm-hmm. The rest they would self-arrange.
Yeah. And I think it also like, I would assume that like after the first talks, you maybe also directly get questions because like you maybe watch something and then maybe you get some questions and hey, can someone talk about this one and talk about this one?
So moving on to the year 2020 and the launch, 2021.
Mm.
No, 20. No, what?
2020 is the launch of Polkadot.
Yeah.
Like
May 2020. Yeah. I remembered, I think it was not the launch of the network, but it was the day the token, I think, maybe launched. There was a retreat in Berlin and we had a celebration. But I don't remember the exact of the network launch. We had like a online celebration, maybe.
It came later.
Yeah.
So I still kind of remember like the launch. It was like Gav was a normal day, and Gav, today we launch. Okay, everyone. Okay, today we launch. And yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense because or maybe it was a little bit before, but yeah, I get the point. Otherwise, it's like people always try like you're pushing always the date like to the next, because like, yeah, we want to still integrate that one and still integrate that one. And I think at some point you just need to pull the trigger and say, okay, now we do it. And then we see what happens.
But this was the launch of the network, or the day that the token became transferable?
The one that I was in a retreat with you in Berlin was the transferable bit. Yeah.
Because we had a few stages, right? Launched the network, and then we switched out the validators to public validators. Then we removed sudo. Then we created transfer that enabled transfers. And then many months later, we got parachains.
Yeah, parachains came late 2021,
Yeah.
a year and a half later.
That's the one I remember the most because I set them up. I was very worried. The first block was just like.
But I think on Polkadot we made an issue. So like with it's just a key issue or whatever. Like the registration, like on Kusama, we like SSHub was running with ED 25591, and on Polkadot it running with SR 255. So either way.
To this day, we have some code that handles this.
Exactly,
this
that handles this thing. Yeah. So that was like. I still remember I found the first bug on Polkadot on the live network. People had locked funds and you could not transfer that, but there was some bug in vesting that allowed you to unvest your funds earlier, something like that. Which was good because like no one could transfer their funds away because like everything was still non-transferable, but you could have unvested. So
I also remember we changed the denomination, decimal points of Polkadot later, and there was indeed some confusion out of that. I remember friends messaged me, what is going on? Like, this big number in my wallet.
I think it was well contained. I think it could have been an awful lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people transferring 100x what they meant to, or I think it could have been a whole lot worse. But yeah, I mean, I think when you're going to do something like this, which is essentially unprecedented outside of countries with hyperinflation, you have to accept that there's going to be a degree of confusion and just try to minimize it.
Yeah. But overall with Polkadot, I remember we also had this chain candidate ideas, and Polkadot actually was chain candidate one. Like we never had to do any major restart. Kusama again served the purpose. I think now to this day the database folder is called CC3.
Yeah.
So the first two ones got nicked. I don't remember why, but
yeah, I remember one of them. There was an issue with Kusama, one of the Kusamas. What was it? It was like pretty hardcore. I remember Andre had to write quite some grandpa code that changed the and
Is that the one where you had to roll back all the clocks? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a faff.
Yeah.
Bit of a faff.
But there was also this one issue I still remember where we made a migration of the balances or whatever, and all the balances were gone or I don't know where they not exactly, I don't remember exactly, but I remember Guillaume or whatever was one of the guys who didn't claim his KSM at this point. So you could still claim because claiming was an unsigned transaction. So he claimed and then transferred all the funds to the council people. So we could do a rescue runtime upgrade to bring back the share or bring back all the funds. Or they were just locked or something like that. But it was funny situation.
That might have been a bad migration. That might have been
that was a bad migration.
When we switched some state thing without migrating the actual keys.
Yeah.
So there were no one handling them. That was a good, clever solution.
Yeah.
Skin of the teeth.
Sometimes you need to be lucky.
Yeah.
I remember clearly, the biggest problem with Polkadot, maybe one of the biggest, was something that was my code one way or another. And that I remember very well. Okay. It was a tough day. I think we were out, yeah. And it was so unlucky because it was a big block that couldn't be produced in Wasm. And we asked validators to go to native, which we said at the time. But then there was a consensus issue, like some Rust sort thingy was actually behaving different on, I don't know, different nodes.
versions of the
It's like two bullets at the same.
But I mean, it was written in like, it was mentioned in the documentation that it's not stable, unstable or something. I also still remember the day. It was like one day after my birthday. Like I had like a birthday party before, like the day, and then on the day I was, in the morning, I think it was 11 a.m. I saw that there's an issue. Then it was like, yeah, okay, everybody will revert back to native, and then like it continues, and so I logged off, and then later in the afternoon I came back, and then like I was talking with Andre, and it's like you cannot sync across this block because of this issue. And then we spent like I think the night finding out what is the issue, and then rolling out a fix for that, which is like also up to this day that you have like in the Polkadot change back like these code substitutes which substitutes this.
That very block.
Yes. First broken. So yeah.
This is what you deal with when you build these systems that don't have it just works and it like lives. There's no like shutdown, pause, anything. You have to always keep the history. The first crowd loans were pretty, big numbers, a lot of like attention.
Yeah.
What a crazy time is. That was the Barcelona retreat. 2020.
Yeah, around the same time, yeah. I think
2021.
late 20. I remember like the first crowd loans, I was after the Barcelona retreat they were happening, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was December. I think it was around Christmas time that we actually that they went live.
But we had no, they started later or they started earlier. There was like some shift or whatever for whatever reason. I don't remember exactly. Like there was a shift with the start of the with the first crowd loan, or like the first slot, and the crowd loan was following the slots or whatever.
I think the crowd loan started maybe a bit before like November time, and then the actual parachains launched around like very late December.
Yeah.
I remember there was an online launch party.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I remember that. There's Emily and Raoul in the Berlin office. I think they were hosting it, and then you spoke, and yeah, I remember watching the stream on Twitter. I was in Iran at the time, actually. And then I think 2022 was the year where you stepped down as Parity CEO, and you took a bigger role in like being the architect of Feature. How did that play out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was never particularly comfortable as being CEO, and it wasn't something that I, like in the early days, it was always the other people. So I think all four of the co-founders of Parity each had a go at being Parity CEO. And then I think, yeah, just by default almost, I became CEO in 21 or whatever. Maybe even earlier, 2020, I think. Yeah, I mean, it was like fine, but I'm making decisions that are, probably need some more context than I really had. And I would have had that context had I gone to sort of more of the meetings, but I didn't really want to spend my time going to meetings. I wanted to spend my time coding and designing and so on. So, eventually it got to the point where I was quite happy sort of passing it on to Björn and moving more into the more fully focus on the technical side. And also this was around the time the fellowship had started. And I felt that this was a good sort of solid kind of structure that I could, sort of feel more kind of at home in. Parity has a lot of, especially back then, had a lot of non-technical aspects to it, like a lot of financial aspects, a lot of operational aspects, a lot of communications and marketing and investor relations and so on. Lots and lots of random other stuff that it's doing that I don't really have that much either desire or, desire to learn, desire to do, or background experience in doing. And so it felt like a very sensible decision to sort of move into a more free-form structure where I could focus on, amongst other things, what was going to become for Polkadot, like the Jam protocol.
Yeah. afterwards, I think you chose the title Chief Architect. But before that, I'm not sure if I
White space.
Yes.
Chief White Space Officer.
Was the architect one as well, or was it always white space?
It was always Chief White Space Officer for, like, from Parity's beginning until I stepped down. You know, there was good reason for this. There's a lot of different people with different opinions on the white space. And you know, the Rust format didn't always work that well. So, you know, it's like, yeah, you work here, this is the white space. The other stuff I'm easy with, but white space.
Yeah. I remember Rust formatter, and when is ready enough to introduce it was something that was like very debated in the early days.
Yeah, I mean, we I think at least twice. I mean, Pierre was always quite a strong proponent for moving to Rust format.
Yeah.
But you know, my baseline for Rust format was that it had to at least sort of have 80 or 90%, be 80 or 90% in line with the formatting rules that we already had for our code base. And for a while it couldn't do that, but I think eventually they made some alterations and it became viable. Once it was viable, it was like, yeah, fine, whatever.
Yeah. Fellowship was a good mention from that year, but 2023, where I think two major changes were first introduced as an idea and then implemented into Polkadot. Agile core time, like this moving away from this long-term auctions, and OpenGov, although OpenGov was earlier, I think. OpenGov, yeah.
I think OpenGov was discussed at the Barcelona retreat the year after the French retreat.
Yeah.
And that was largely on the back of concern that basically putting all this treasury spending amongst 9 council members was going to be problematic for the council members. So we really wanted to actually walk the walk of decentralization. And I think for all its faults, it did achieve what we set out to achieve. And I think it can be improved in various ways, but we probably only know what those improvements were by doing it this way and actually going the hard path. But yeah, that's right. So OpenGov, I think, was like 22?
Yeah, probably launched in 22, yeah.
And sort of devised even before. Because I think it took about a year to a year and a half between like coming up with the initial design, which was done basically in a day, and then actually coding it up, which was done in like a month or two, and then rolling it out, which is like which took the other 18 months.
I also, when I tell about it to people from other like crypto projects or friends who actually don't know blockchain at all, I do mention that, you know, we have this system that is perhaps in some ways a bit more chaotic or different from what others are doing, but I name it as an experiment that's like very bold, in that even if it proved to like fail in one or two, like some places, it's like valuable learning that, you know, I'm sure others like ourselves and others can look at and, you know, learn from. I think there's a lot of value to that as well. As you said, you only learn some things by doing it and looking back.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think also OpenGov has this beauty of that, like all the things are open. And like it was last year, whatever, when like this first treasury report from Alice and Bob came out, and it was like, there was that much spending for marketing and all the kind of things, and it was like, all, like anti-crypto Twitter or whatever making jokes. But I mean, when you go to other projects, you have no idea how much they spent. It's like everything is behind closed doors, and it's like, So, and they probably also do a lot of weird, shady things, which are like, But here you see it in open what is exactly happening. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for the community to actually see how much stuff actually costs, rather than just like some, foundation paying for it out the back, and like, people don't hear about that. And then this way it just brings transparency to the whole thing. For better or for worse.
So we've kind of looked back at a brief history of Parity and Polkadot. If it comes to mind, tell me like a proud memory and moment from all this long journey that you've all been part of. For you, more than a decade. For the rest of us, between 6 to 7 years.
I guess, the main ones are sort of the acting in adversity. So in particular the sort of the Kasama issues that we've had, and like really sort of coming together and making it, getting it back on its feet. And there were a few of those. There were the wallet hacks, obviously.
The Parity multisig.
Yeah. These were difficult times. I mean, it was particularly difficult for the second one because I think I had like a pretty high fever at the time. I had this like mad Mexican flu thing, and then there was some other stuff going on as well, and I just had my second son, so it was like a very intense time.
And that helped the funds for the Polkadot. Like one of the Polkadot ICOs, like the money that was meant to be used to build Polkadot.
Correct.
There's also something I say to friends, that this company managed to pull it off without that money, actually. And that's something to be.
Yeah, it's still locked. So I guess this is mostly the sort of it's a very sort of diffuse pride, but it's like it's nice that we've managed to gain people that are like really very heavily focused on making stuff work and building stuff better. And I think this isn't usual in this industry.
Missionaries.
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah.
For me, I mean, again, there's been a million, right? I've done so many things at Parity over the years, different types of things. I was an engineer, I was a manager. Now I don't know what I do.
Web developer.
I'm a web developer now, apparently. Tooling, all sorts of stuff. And so like there's been different kinds of pride, I guess, for different things. And also proud of myself for being able to be so involved in a bunch of different things and always learning and always like evolving my understanding of everything. Because when I joined Parity, I also did not know how to use a blockchain. Well, I mean, I knew how they worked kind of, but I didn't know how to run the infrastructure. I didn't know how to really interface with them on a deeper level. And so like learning all that was great. And like, I'm proud to be sitting here now with these wonderful people.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Why? I think I can join. I mean, like some years like 2019 and 2020, I like feel like it was like more than 2 years for me. Like it was like I think at least 5 years or whatever. So like, I mean, it was so intense time. We've done so many things. It was like especially then in COVID with lockdown and it was like so much. I cannot remember like all these things we've done, but it's probably the Parachute launch, like then like was about Coco. I still remember it was like then we kind of promised that we will bring it up, and I was like I think then Christmas or whatever, around Christmas 2021 when it then finally launched, or some days before, like people could run some Parachutes. That's like also like these first of like I had this Cumulus thing running and it was like producing blocks and like it was like there were I think we have done a lot, and like it's like crazy if you think about it. It's like all the stuff we have done and achieved, and like all the people you have seen on the way, and like so.
I think there's a common theme. If I were to answer the same question, I would say something similar as well. Like the difficult things that happened, but I got through it, so I feel like happy and proud. But with the help of like the rest of you and the team, I think that's definitely something. Gives a good right sensation. I'm not sure if it's proud, I don't know, gratefulness, but something good there. I think we all kind of hinted at it in our answers.